morning and welcome to Radio Friends on St. Patrick's Day. This is Tuesday, March the 17th. And what better way to celebrate St. Patrick's Day than with some music?
Well, some Irish music.
Irish music, right. We've got Larry Brown with us.
Yeah,
good to have you. Oh, Larry, and you're wearing green.
Well, of course, it's the wearing of the green.
I got white on here. Oh, but there's a little bit of green on the shirt.
Well,
okay.
As long as you're feeling well enough not to look a little green, we're okay. We're
okay. But you have a song for us today, a special kind of song.
Well, this is a traditional Irish drinking song, well, drinking and fighting song.
Yeah.
And I want to sing it, and as far as I can tell, as close as I can tell to its original form, and then we'll talk a bit about where it came from. And it'll be a recognizable tune, but probably not from the lyrics.
Okay, so here is Larry Brown.
It's called Garryowen.
Garryowen.
Let Bacchus' sons not be dismayed, but join with me each jovial blade. Come drink and sing and lend your aid to help me with the chorus. Instead of spa, we'll drink brown ale, pay the reckoning on the nail. No man for debt shall go to jail, from Garryowen in glory. We are the boys that take delight in smashing Limerick lamps when lightning through the streets like sporters fighting and tearing us all before us. Instead of spa, we'll drink brown ale and pay the reckoning on the nail. No man for debt shall go to jail, from Garryowen in glory. We'll beat the bailiffs out of fun, we'll make the mayor and sheriffs run. We are the boys no man dares to dun if he regards his whole skin. Instead of spa, we'll drink brown ale and pay the reckoning on the nail. No man for debt shall go to jail, from Garryowen in glory. Our hearts so stout have got no fame, for soon 'tis known from whence we came. Where'er we go they dread the name of Garryowen in glory. Instead of spa, we'll drink brown ale, pay the reckoning on the nail. A man for debt shall go to jail, from Garryowen to glory.
Now, we've all heard that.
It's a familiar tune. Now, in my recollection, the times I remember were from movies. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking back of all of the movies that had to do with General Custer. And going back to Son of the Morning Star, Little Big Man, even The Searchers with John Wayne when the 7th Cavalry come in. And she wore a yellow ribbon, they died with their boots on. But more recently, the Rough Riders and the Gangs of New York. And back in our childhood,
the Gangs of New York?
It's played there as a street song for the fighting Irish in that. And actually it is an official tune of several military units. The Royal Irish Regiment of the British Army today uses it. The 1st Cavalry Division of the U.S. Army today uses it. In fact, there is a Camp Garryowen in Korea. And during the Iraq War, 2008, the Forward Operating Base Garryowen was established. But I was looking at the history, and in the 1850s, it was the 69th Infantry Regiment of the New York Militia that used it as their theme song. And
what about the lyrics?
Well, I'll get to that.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead of myself.
The Irish Regiment of Canada used it in the 1850s when they fought in the Crimean War. Further back, the Duke of Wellington in 1811 used it in the Napoleonic Wars, and Beethoven even had 2 arrangements of this tune between 1809 and 1810, and it goes even further back to the Royal Irish Lancers of the 1700s. But now the song, the lyrics, Garryowen, it's not the name of a person, it's actually a place.
Garryowen is a place? Well,
in the Gaelic Irish, it's Garry, G-A-R-R-A-I, and the second word, own, E-O-I-N. So Garryowen is translated into English, the Garden of John.
Oh.
And it was a garden outside of St. John the Baptist Church in Limerick, Ireland, which was built in the 12th century. Well, there was a garden outside of it, and in this song, when you listen to the lyrics, it is a drinking song of young ruffians. I mean, they're singing about drinking and then going into town at night and vandalizing the place, tearing it up, putting out the lights, chasing off the sheriff and the bailiff. And so we think probably its tradition is back to a drinking song. Now,
are these the original lyrics?
Well, as far as I could find, I mean, there are many versions of it out there. And I was looking at one that was actually telling a story of a man named Garryowen, but that was written very recently. So the lyrics, as far as I can tell, go all the way back to probably this drinking song. Now, one could stereotypically say, well, it's the drinking and the fighting Irish. But as we look more carefully at those lyrics, they have to do with upsetting those in power. So indeed, it may be a song about fighting for one's justice and rights. And in the chorus, when it says, no man for debt shall go to jail. Now, you know, in most of that history, you went to jail if you couldn't make a living, you know, debtor's prison.
Right.
And many of the Irish, of course, were imported to Australia, exported out of Ireland, and in the United States, in our own history, many of the Irish and the Scots-Irish came here because there was no way of making a living. And sometimes your alternative was to go to jail or to die in famines and so on, or join the army, be a fighter, find a place to survive and make a living.
I didn't realize that this one song had so much history behind it, and violent history too.
Well, of course, the legend is that General George Armstrong Custer heard his men singing it in the 7th Cavalry, and he then adopted it his song. And some of those classic pictures we have in our mind of Custer riding off to his last stand while the fife and drum corps are playing this song. So there is a kind of a cynical edge to this song too, but certainly used as a fighting song.
Well, it's an interesting story, Larry Brown. I appreciate that.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't bring the fife and drum.
No, it's okay. But perfect for St. Patrick's Day. If you want to hear Larry sing more, or if you'd like to hear some of his storytelling, they can get in touch with you. How?
You may contact me, brownstory@hotmail.com.
Okay. Check
out my website at www.brownstory.com.
Okay. All right. If you see him on the street, say, hey, I'd like to hear some of your stories. I tell you what, don't play the theme music, if you would, Travis. Why don't you just go out with the instrumental version of Garryowen's? And I'll tell you that we're out of time for today. Tomorrow we've got Mel Zelenek on. Our program is directed by Travis McMillen of the Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio is Pat Akers from KBIA. Our floor director, Lowell Thomas, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mauser. Hope you have a happy St. Patrick's Day as we wrap it up here.